Hello humans, Master Nerflex here, bringing you the low quality content you deserve, and today we'll be going over Salamangreat. But what's really interesting about this is I don't know that I've ever done any Salad content ever. I have always thought it's kind of just like a whatever deck, even when it was meta. It was like cool, it did things, but it was very underwhelming in how it wanted to achieve said things, and it was very not interesting for the most part. But they got a new wave of support that opened up two things that are very interesting that need to be discussed when you're like looking at this deck, thinking about it, wanting to play it. One, the deck has gotten a lot more powerful and it can link up a lot faster and do a lot more. However, the second part is that the fire lock is back on the menu, which is a very big deal. So the new starter, Salamangreat of Fire, is the best starter in this deck, not even close. People for a while were not willing to play it just because it put a fire lock on it, until the very second you started using it as intended, and it just blows all the other combos out of the water. And the reason this is the case is because it's kind of one of those Yu-Gi-Oh playerisms where they'll see new cards, and rather than apply it in a new manner, we'll try to apply it in an old manner. So the only thing people even know about Salamangreat is they're a Bagooska Pass deck, so they never challenge the idea of what if we do something besides Bagooska Pass, or what Dweller Pass in a format where Dweller doesn't matter, or whatever. Like, they don't challenge their idea of what a deck used to be, so they can't get to the point where they know what the deck is now. This happens all the time. People have an idea of what they want their deck to be, so if anything changes that, they consider it a problem. It's one of those Yu-Gi-Oh playerisms, and it only gets broken when people see how much the new idea succeeds, and this is kind of an example of that. Like, people were genuinely not willing to play Salamangreat of Fire, or pretty much any of the new cards, until it did very well, and that's what's really cool. But now something else has come up that I've noticed that I think could be expanded on a little bit further, and that is, it is still a mid-range deck. So a lot of your extenders don't actually go to making your combo better outside of just like giving your combo ways to play through disruption. Well, that's cool. It has the same issue that Evil Twin had early on when they just got Sunny, where their deck list only made Sunny pass, so none of the extenders actually mattered if you got to Sunny. And that's kind of what I want to break in this deck with, is what can I do when I have extenders that can deviate from the original combo, but also give that said combo more? And that's what we're going to test today, which is why the title is called Salamangreat, but all the combos are wrong, because I want to see how much I can deviate from the generic combo. And we're going to start off with Weasel and Fire. It can also be Gazelle and Fire, so we'll start off with Fire, or Circle. Just circles all of them. So Fire, we will get Gazelle, and then we will link off Fire into Baylinks, and then Baylinks will search Chainlink 1, Gazelle, Chainlink 2, summon this, add Sanctuary, and Gazelle. In a lot of these situations, if you have an extender, you're going to dump a trap to get that back. The problem is, the extender we have is Weasel, and we also don't have another way to get a level 3 on board, so we actually have to dump a level 3 that can summon itself, which will be Spinny, Spiny, and there we go. And now we'll activate Sanctuary, and this is where we can go ahead and use Weasel, because we have 2 or more Salamangreats in our graveyard, so it can just special summon itself. And then we'll also special summon the Spiny, because we have a bunch of Salad on boards. Now, we will do something interesting. Normally, you would go into Mirage Stalio and, like, combo off from there, but this is where I want to start deviating and do the first strong combo. We're actually going to Synchro Summon into Horse Prince. And Horse Prince, when this card is Synchro Summoned, you can special summon 1 level 3 fire monster from your deck, but you can't summon level 5 or higher monsters for the rest of the turn. We will go ahead and summon Ash Blossom. Very interesting. Then we will overlay those 2 level 3s into the Mirage Stalio. We will go ahead and detach the Ash Blossom, and we will get Jack Jaguar, and then we will link these 2 into Sunlight Wolf, which will trigger the Weasel This will go to the bottom of the deck. This will get put on our opponent's side of the field, right in the Wolf column. So Wolf will recycle, we'll get an extra draw, and Wolf will recycle the Ash Blossom. So congrats, we searched Ash Blossom. And then, of course, we will link these 3 away, all these fire monsters, into Raging Phoenix, which will bounce the of fire back to our hand. And then we will Sanctuary link away into Raging Phoenix to get a trap. Now, under normal circumstances, we would not have been able to get another disruption with this setup, but because of the fact that we just traded what was an XZ3 into a Synchro 6, we just got to also search Ash Blossom with our 4 cards in hand, so we could back it up with other hand traps and other interactions. So, this is what I mean by I want to see how this can deviate. Similar to Evil Twins back in 2021 when Trouble Sunny was brand new, the only thing people were focused on is making Sunny, so if they drew an extender and had nothing to do with it, it was a blank. It was a non-card in their hand. They couldn't make their hand better with their extender unless their opponent hand trapped them, or like whatever. You needed an amount of extenders based on the number of hand traps your opponent had, which means if they didn't have that many, they were blanks in hand. And I want to try to avoid this same problem in Salamangreat, which is why I'm trying to deviate. Now, this is a very simple deviation. It actually requires no commitment. You're still playing Ash Blossom in this deck list, and Weasel is a very good extender in this deck, so it's like no real commitment to this deck list outside of the fact that Horse Prince is in it is actually needed. It will just play itself very regularly, and in addition, most of the good monsters in your deck are level 3. So, this can summon out some really cool things, because we didn't even use the Jaguar summon back. We actually didn't use that at all. So we could have summoned like a level 3 that would come back like Foxy, and then just had 2 more monsters on board for link summons. So there's a lot you can do with this setup. But now we're going to do something substantially more deviated and wrong. Now, I just drew a random hand, and it obviously has a setup. But what we're going to set up is something strange. So we'll go ahead. We have Circle and Weasel and Fire, so we could just go ahead and get Gazelle now, wherever it is. And then we'll normal summon Salamangreat of Fire. That allows us to get a search of Spiny, or Spinny. It's the same thing. It's a spined creature. We call it Spinny because it spins and it's a spine. Now we will link this away into Baylinks to get a search and summon Gazelle. And Gazelle will go ahead and, after we search and activate this, it's going to dump a trap and we will get Roar. Now, like I said, this is going to get very weird. We're going to go ahead and toss Spinny to give a boost and then just summon it. Well, before we summon it, we're actually going to summon Weasel. And then we can go ahead and summon Spiny. And then we can overlay those 2 into Mirage Stallion. Now, I'm actually not going into the Horse Prince play, because one restriction on Horse Prince says, cannot special summon level 5 or higher monsters for the rest of the turn. So we will go ahead and detach Weasel, and we will get Jaguar, or we can go ahead and get Falco as well. So we have this set up. We can go ahead and link these 2 into Sunlight Wolf. Falco's going to trigger to set back the Roar, and then Weasel's going to get itself back to summon this to our opponent's side of the field, which this allows us to recycle the Falco, and we'll get a draw. So, not bad. And then we can actually link away all these into, of course, the Raging Phoenix, which will bounce this with the Stallion, and then we will link this away into another Raging Phoenix, and this one allows us to search any Salamangreat card, including Will of the Salamangreat, and this is where this is going to get a little fucking ridiculous, which actually, this should stay in my graveyard. What should have been summoned is this, and like, it would just recycle of whatever, so that's actually going to stay. Let's just say we didn't even use that at all, because this is the combo I need to set up. are these in the graveyard. So all this needs to stay. These three need to stay. So this is what's going to happen. We're actually losing out on some cards, but that's fine. Because we are going to go ahead and target this relinked monster and just summon this back. And what would we want to do with these cards? Well, let's start off. Well, we can actually summon one more. I think we'll do that. We get to summon out all four of these. We're going to synchro into a level 5 called Infernoble Knight Captain Roland. And then we are going to synchro these two away into Charles. And then we can equip the Roland to Charles because it can do that. And now we will link away these into the Great Emperor Charles, which equips this. Yes, I did do that. So, this is what I mean by how far you can actually deviate from this deck, is you're able to make a line of play like this. What is this exactly? Not only do we have the counter trap, but this is both a spell trap negate and a pop because Roland is quick equip. And then finally, we can actually do something like this, where we just turn this into a Balinx and we can get an extra draw off Weasel now if we want to. It's up to you if you want to do that, but it's definitely an option. So with a very limited setup, you just like have Charles on your board and Salamangreat. Is this correct? No, that's why the video is called what it is. But it's a demonstration of what I think a good way to see this deck is. There's a lot of open-ended stuff you can do with this Firelock, which what I cited out was the entire access code package. Because something I've noticed is when your best way to get cards out of your deck lock you into fire, maybe you should build a modern extra deck that kind of respects that. Obviously, they won't always resolve, but when playing with and against this deck, I just noticed there's like a lot of cards in here that are not accessed very much just because of that lock, and the access code line was the worst of the three because it only enabled an OTK you could already do unless you're not fire-locked. But if you're not fire-locked, it means you had a combo that put 3 Cyberse on board, but didn't do anything. Like, you didn't have other ways to play. It just a very, very hyper-specific OTK that this deck could do, probably without it. So, it's very interesting. I think a lot more experimentation can be done with this deck, because while you can play mid-range, you can also just commit to other plays. Well, I don't think this one is very serious. I do think this might have some legs to stand on, because not only can it get Ash out of the deck, but it can also, more importantly, get other level 3s out of the deck. So this is something that might be worth considering. But that's going to be it for me. Thank you all for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and hopefully it wasn't too long-winded. It is what it is. This deck is very interesting. I like the new power boost the deck got, made it substantially more entertaining to play, so I actually like messing around with it. It's pretty cool. But yep, that's about it. Thank you all for watching, and remember, Master Dinner Flex will take your soul.